Cool. What's up, good people? It is your boy Leroy McKenzie Jr. Y'all know how we do. It's the third Monday of the month. So we're here with the brand new development series. And tonight, I got a special guest that is going to assist you, your business, your brand, and not only taking all of you to the next level, but taking our community as a whole to the next level, and what it is that we need to do in order to be able to take us as a community and be able to go to the next level. So we want y'all to take notes. We want y'all to tune in. We want y'all to ask questions. All the things that you need to do in order to be able to make your business as successful as it can be, should be. We want to be able to do that. We're going to be talking about the renewing of Black Wall Street. We're talking about rebuilding Black Wall Street 2.0. Those things that we need to be able to do in order to be able to bring Black Wall Street. And tonight, I have one of my fellow brothers, for those that are listening in, one of my fellow Black professional men brothers that has joined me tonight. And y'all know the mission of Black professional men is to secure the future of the African American male. And one of the ways that we do that is by bringing you the brand new development series, because it's not only about developing you personally, but also developing you business wise, but also developing you personal wise, so that you're able to take you, your business, your brand to that next level. And this brother that I have here tonight is none other than Mr. Michael Harrison himself. And y'all can see the banner in the back there, Black by Demand. So
Back by demand.
absolutely. So we're gonna talk to him just a little bit tonight. We're gonna talk about that Black by Demand brand. We're gonna talk about buying black. We're gonna talk about our economics, our finances, as us doing business with each other as black businesses, recycling that dollar. How do we make our community stronger? And one of the ways that we make our community stronger is by doing business with each other, and making our community to recycle our dollars. So I'm gonna let him give a little introduction of himself, who he is, excuse me, and what he does, and then we're gonna take off on the conversation and get started.
All right, sounds good. So what's up, family? My name is Brother Mike, host of the Black by the Man radio show and creator of the Black by the Man brand. My brand itself is all about group economics. So black is for the people. Buy is how we practice group economics. Demand is for change. This is why we spell buy, B-U-Y, as in purchase. So it's all about teaching the black community that we can actually solve some of the problems within our community ourselves by spending more money with black businesses. We spend 1.6 trillion the last time I checked the numbers every year as a consumer, right? So we're making other businesses rich. You know, they're living the good life. You know, they're able to sell their kids the things they want to teach them, have them go to, you know, better schools, and a lot of that's coming from money that we're spending with their businesses. And what we're saying is we just simply need to redirect some of that back into our businesses. That way we can uplift our communities through our businesses. Better businesses, bigger companies offer more jobs for us to hire our own people. And it offers a way for our children also to have better internships. It's just an all-around win-win. So it's all about group economics. But let me give you a little definition of group economics. So group economics can be defined as one group of people who have a common economic interest. That group agrees to actively and consciously pursue that economic interest together to create sustainable and secure economy for themselves. So it's also a form of accountability. So with my brand in particular, the brand promotes, practices, and encourages group economics. So we got Black by the Man t-shirts and hoodies with our logo on it. And can be proud to know that not only did you participate in group economics, you know, but you're also educating people, because the shirt itself is a conversation piece. You know, so people say, hey, what does that mean? You know, so you get to explain what the shirt means and why buy is spelled B-U-Y instead of just B-Y. And then we follow it up with constructive conversations on the Black by the Man radio show, which you can catch on Facebook and YouTube anytime at Be Exposed Radio or the Black by the Man radio show page. So this is right up our alley, brother. This is what we all about, and we believe this is the path to building the new Black Wall Street.
Now, for those that may not be familiar with the Black Wall Street, can you talk just a little bit about that, what it was, and then
Sure.
we'll get into I know that you had a show earlier today, which I tuned into, that was awesome, and we'll get into those 13 ways.
Thank you very much, brother.
Absolutely.
13 ways you can practice group economics. Okay, so for those who are not familiar with Black Wall Street was a section of Tulsa, Oklahoma, about a 5-mile radius, where you had Black people, Black Cherokee Indians, as well as Black African Americans, who all believed in group economics. So they believed in self-sustaining themselves. So we circulated our dollar within the community. If you check the stats, you look at the Jewish community, the Asian community, the European community, and the Black community. Other than the Black community, all the other communities, when they spend a dollar, they get their paychecks, it circulates within their community, meaning they spend it with businesses that are within their community, that are of their people, anywhere between 16 to like 18 times before it leaves the community. So Black Wall Street was an example in the early 1920s where you had Black people who understood this logic. So through this logic, they built their own little paradise. They had their own schools, they had their own hospitals, they had their own businesses, and they bartered with each other and they spent money with each other's businesses. Now, at the same time in America itself was actually facing the Great Depression. But you had these Black people in Tulsa, Oklahoma, who were producing some of the first millionaires in the United States of America. And it was all through group economics. And if you read up on the story, you'll find out some things took place that caused some other people to get a little jealous. They eventually took it down, but I won't take you down the rabbit hole on that. I want to focus on the beauty of us understanding group economics. And somewhere along the line, we lost track of that. So through Black by the Man, as well as Black Professional Men, BBD and BPM, we are trying to reinstate that, and we educate ourselves on how we can do better within our own community.
Absolutely, and that's the key. Because and one of the things that folks may not understand and know, that once Black Wall Street once it was destroyed and fell, they never built it back up. It is never been, to this day, it has never been built back up. The like you said, the economic structure that was there, that was built in there, and that's what stood out to me, and what stands out to me about that great the Black Wall Street, was that it was never rebuilt. And
I think I think a part of what happened with that is at that time where we were doing that, dominant society did not accept us into society. They would not let us use their stores, their water fountains, couldn't go to their hospitals. We realized, okay, we're going to have to build our own. It may not be as nice, as fancy in the beginning, but if we keep putting into it, we'll stay on this path. I think after Black Wall Street was destroyed, we had moved into integration, and that kind of took a little bit of the drive out of us, because we now had access to all the other things that dominant society had access to. So I think it was kind of like a little side effect, and we kind of lost track because we didn't have that pressure on us anymore to say, hey, we can't use that water fountain. We gotta build our own. We can't use that bus system. We gotta build our own. I think that was a part of where we lost track of it.
Yeah, and it was, like you said, it was one of the side effects of integration, because it took the businesses that we did have in our communities that we own, because there are businesses in our communities nowadays that I say, but we don't own any of them.
We don't own it.
We don't own them. So that money,
we don't own it.
That money that is being patronized into those businesses is immediately leaving our communities. So it's not, like you were saying, it's not
immediately.
It's immediately. It's our economic dollar. When I read, the last I read, our dollars don't even spend 6 hours in our community. 6 hours.
And that's being generous. That's a generous
Right,
number.
right. I mean,
That means stay that long.
right, and compared to other ethnic groups where you had, I think the most might be something like 28 days, and I think that might be the Asian community. But I think then you have the
Yeah,
Jewish.
that's probably the Asian or the Jewish community.
Yeah, and I know the Jewish community is around 18, at least 18 days or so. It might be just above 20 around there or whatever. But that's significant when you look at it, and us being
Yes,
able to do the things that we want to do as far as a community. And
right.
and why we struggle so much. And I heard
Hmm.
earlier today, like you said, I really want to get into those 13 principles that you talked about. How we can build that structure back up to be able
Right.
to build the structure in order to be able to build the community up. But
Mhm.
before you do that, I know we're in August, and we got a couple months before Kwanzaa comes, that most people are used to celebrating in December. But we're celebrating
Right.
Kwanzaa here in
Hmm.
August because we're talking tonight principle number 4 of Kwanzaa, which is Ujama,
Okay.
which is Ujama.
Hmm.
And and Ujama means, it stands for to build and maintain our own stores, shops, and other businesses, and to profit from them together. That's group
Nice.
economics. That's
That's group economics.
that's group economics, cooperative economics. And I said this earlier today when I was listening to your show. I had this
Hmm.
idea. I'm like, our economic dollars plus our economic leverage equals our economic legacy or our economic power. So
Yes.
those two compartments give us what we need, or will give us what we need as the economic power that we're looking to be able to get. But just like anything else, you gotta see it, you gotta write it, and then you gotta work it.
You
And
got to work it.
you got to work it. And you give us because you had the vision for the principles that you had, you wrote
Hmm.
those principles, and now we're going to go into implementing them, talking about them, and how we implement them so that we can make our community stronger. So I'm gonna let you start with the principles, and then we can go into talking about.
Okay, yeah. So on today's show, what we went over was 13 ways that we can practice group economics. Because not only is group economics sort of a foreign term within the Black community,
Mm-hmm.
but even once given the definition, the next step is, okay, how do we go about doing this? Like what do I have to do to practice group economics? So it's all about education for us. These are certain things that we don't receive in what's known as a formal education. And we're not knocking formal education, it's great. But we also suggest that you also pursue what we call at Black by the Man, a Black education,
Yeah, it is.
education that can help you within the community. So, of the 13 ways, the first one was produce a product or service. So, if you can somehow come up with a way to produce a product or service, which is just a physical item that you can create, that you can sell, and as well as a service, it's a skill set. Now, we actually do this. We have within our community barbers, we have braiders, we have people who do hair, we have people who do taxes. We got Mr. Johnson who works on cars. So we kind of got this concept, but we just wasn't aware of the power of it. So once you're made aware of the power of it, then we can step it up to the next level where it actually benefits the community. So
Gotcha.
that was number one. Number two was open an online store, which here at Black by the Man, we did both. We created a product and we opened the online store. Make sure you guys check us out at blackbytheman.com for our apparel. Remember, buy is spelled B-U-Y. So having an online store is such a benefit because now you don't have just access to the Black community you're from, but you have access to other Black communities. And then you also have access to communities of people who believe in supporting Black businesses because as business owners, we need support from everybody. As Black consumers, we give support to everybody, so we expect that in return. I mean, it's basically only fair.
Absolutely.
We're going to need them to support us as well in order to get to that next level.
And folks need to
All
understand.
right, so number three,
Wait a minute,
go
wait a
ahead.
minute. Before you go to number 3, folks need to understand the
Right.
importance of the online presence and e-commerce and the effects of that,
Mm-hmm.
having a product or service online. Because when you think about e-commerce, you think about Amazon and how powerful Amazon has become, being the number one e-commerce company
Yes.
online. So when you think about that, when you think about having an
Mm-hmm.
online store, you think about having an online business, think in terms of that and where technology is taking us. A lot of businesses do business
Yes.
online. So that's very important to kind of remember.
Online. Yeah. Brick and mortar has always been the ultimate dream, but
Right,
today
right.
that's starting to change a little bit because you have so many people that have online stores.
It's
And
shifting.
then, unlike, say, 15 years ago, where you thought to yourself, okay, how am I going to build a website?
Mhm.
This is going to be, a lot of dollars involved, and I need people with a particular skill set. Well, even that's become easier because now you have websites such as Shopify and
Mhm.
websites of that nature that can help you easily open an online store. Doesn't cost you a lot of money each month. So the access of the information age is definitely something we got to take advantage of. So an
Absolutely.
online store is the way to go. You open your business up to the world.
Absolutely, and that's the key. And I've said this: the World Wide Web has leveraged the playing field for small businesses going against, you know, going against
Absolutely.
going against big businesses, because we can be sitting right
Yeah,
here,
you got
right now,
access to people who have never had access to before.
absolutely, across the globe, across the world, we can do business.
Across the globe. That's right. It is. I've had people reach out to me from, other parts of the United States as well as other countries with an interest in buying a Black by the Man T-shirt. Had it not been for the internet, you know what I mean, and the
Right,
simplest way to create these websites, I'd have never had access to that. So yes, it does open your market up completely, and we got to take advantage of that.
absolutely, absolutely. So what's number three? I'm sorry.
So number three was host community events, such as potlucks, local group, economic meetings, community yard sales, and other events that can teach the rest of the community to
Mm,
put these tips into practice. So
absolutely.
when you host a community event, you get a chance to speak with the people, educate them a little bit on the importance of the community event, and teach them about group economics so they can now know, okay, there are things I can do to help the Black community. Because I think there's a lot of us that kind of feel frozen, because we're normal people. We work jobs like everybody else. So you think, what can I really do to
Hmm.
change the situation? But you can do a lot. Hosting community events is an easy way that you can show that you have a concern for the community.
And that's
I
important,
actually just hosted a community
right? And for my pastors that are listening, understand that this gives you a great opportunity to be able to host an event, have an event. As I'll give you an example, my church for this month of August, they highlighted
event.
or are highlighting the chefs that we have that are members of our church. Each of them has a restaurant, so
Nice.
they have the opportunity to be able to bring their menus right there on our church campus,
Mm-hmm.
and people can buy their dinner, buy their meals right there. It gets to highlight that particular
Right.
business. It gets to, they call it chefs on, I want to say chefs on the green, but it's I'm getting the last part messed up, so I'm just going to say chefs on the green. But they each Sunday
Mm-hmm.
after two of our services, the members get to sit, hang out, patronize that particular restaurant, get to learn a little bit more about the restaurant, the
Yes.
foods that they have, the menus that they have. So it's very important about those community events and what it can do to let folks know who you are as a business owner, who you are as a business owner, what you have to offer, because people may not necessarily know. Right there in your church
True.
or whatever, they may not know that you have that particular product or service. And
Right.
if that a community event comes along, then you're able to highlight it, or you'll be able to kind of put it out there, and folks will be like, "Oh wow, I need to, I'm going to make sure that I support you as a business, just because of that community event that,
Absolutely.
that they decided to have." You know.
That community event can definitely do that for you. And with it being church members, like you said, the pastor, he has the ability to put that spirit in the air to let people know, listen, we are a community and
Yep.
we got things that we can do, you know. So leaders like pastors and churches are good gathering spots for the
Mhm.
black community. This is one of the places where you can get our attention. You get what I mean?
Absolutely.
So yeah,
Absolutely.
that's wonderful, man. Absolutely. So hopefully the pastors that are tuning in can hear us, you know, and make some moves, and we'd love to come and participate.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You ready for number
Yeah.
4?
Yep. Go ahead. Yep. Let's do number 4.
All right. So number 4 is using black directories.
Mm.
Black directories are exactly what it sounds like. You know, telephone book. If you're from back in the day like me, imagine it having a section that contains all the black businesses that you wanted to look for.
Mhm.
This is something that we actually attempted to do with Black by the Man in the beginning. And I think at that time, it just wasn't enough people that were educated on the importance of it.
Mhm.
But now that we're a couple years in, we are going to revisit this. So we plan on having blackbytheman.net be
Mm.
one of the major black directories that we can
Awesome.
use. So you just go into the website, you know, whatever area you're in, and then you see what black businesses are available. You maybe even type in looking for a plumber, so to come back with the, you know, black businesses that are in that area that offer plumbing. But yeah, black directories are very important. I think we need to put
Absolutely.
more emphasis on it because one of the major issues with the average person that I speak to about group economics
Mhm.
is they say, I would love to support more black businesses. I simply don't know where they're at.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
this is where the directory come in handy. So black directories was number 4.
That is
All
it. That
right, so number 5 was create community gardens. Start planning and gathering everything you'll need to plant your gardens for the springtime, for the fall, and for the winter months. Of course, this has got several different benefits. You got the benefit of growing food. You
mhm.
get to teach the children
Yep.
how to grow food, the importance of having fresh ingredients. It can help activate some of the elders in our community. They come from a generation where they
Mhm.
grew up doing this.
Yep.
This is kind of, you know, falling to the wayside. You can kind of get them involved. They'll be excited to be a part of it. You know, want to maintain this. I actually did experience this in my neighborhood before, and it was great. It was
Okay.
great. It was there for a few years. Had collard greens, we had tomatoes, we had onions, a few
Mm.
herbs, and the community basically took care of it. You know, and I remember thinking then I was a little younger. I was like, wow, you know, like people are really taking time out to take care of this garden, and it was just nice. It was really nice.
And,
So
and
that's
I
another easy one as well.
and
Create
I think
community garden.
and I think with the garden, like you said, when it's the community taking care of it, that it makes it gives it more. You become more prideful of the area
Yeah,
that you
sense of
live in.
pride.
You know, so that you're like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, we have something. And I've seen it actually here in Baltimore. There are a couple of areas that do that. And I was watching a documentary
Very nice.
by his name is Killer Mike, and he had this thing where he was in
Oh
Atlanta,
yeah.
and he was going around and he was trying to spend his money only with black businesses. And they took him to this spot where
Mm-hmm.
this lady, she had, I mean, a full garden. She had, like you said, she had the tomatoes, she had collard greens, she had I mean, full garden of all kinds of stuff that she was growing, and
Nice.
it was fresh, and just the power in and of that we could have when the community
Yeah.
right there, because you have fresh produce, and especially, and I don't know if you could talk a little bit about this, some of the areas that have what are called food deserts. You know what I mean? This gives them the ability
Yes.
to be able to have some, excuse me, some fresh food or even fresh fruit, that they will be able to have for the,
Mm-hmm.
for that particular community, and how important that can be, because
Right.
a lot of
Very
our
important.
communities don't have healthy food. They got the fast foods there.
No, they don't have healthy food at all.
Yeah, they got the corner store, because I always remember that, the corner store, that they have, and there weren't enough healthy or fresh foods that were available right there in the area. But if you have these gardens, then you're able to do that. And like you said, the elders,
Absolutely.
they enjoy doing stuff like
They enjoyed it.
that. Yeah.
Reminds them of their childhood. They
Yep.
remember the time where this was, just everyday life. I mean, they grew up in a generation where sometimes they had to quit school because people needed to work and tend to the garden, so forth
Right.
and so on. So yeah, they would love to get back to that. And a lot of the areas that our communities are at in the cities, and they are considered to be food deserts because, as you were saying, it's a lot of bodegas, it's a lot of 7-Elevens and
Right.
corner stores, but nothing that really offers fresh vegetables,
Right.
what we call electric foods that are alive, and we have a live body, right? And as a community of people, we're very sick, and a lot of this sickness comes from the foods that we eat. So we definitely want to educate ourselves on what it means to be eating electric foods. These are foods that are naturally grown on the earth by God Himself, and they haven't been altered because your body is alive. So when we eat a whole consumption of meat 3-4 times a day, we haven't been educated that meat is dead. It's dead. So you're putting something dead to a live body and then
Wow.
expecting good results. And it
Wow.
doesn't work out that way.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Wow.
work out that way.
That's some strong stuff right there, y'all. That's some good stuff right there. How about number 6?
Yeah, we can eat live food. This is how you keep the doctor away.
Exactly. Exactly. All right, let's give him number 6.
All right, number 6. Number 6 was start making and selling your own clothes and accessories. Starting maybe a t-shirt business. Of course, we have people that sell accessories. It could be African jewelries and bracelets and necklaces, but just things that you think of worthiness for the Black community. We have certain types of clothing that we like that represent our African backgrounds, our African cultures. We need to get into producing these things. We love the clothes that we wear, but there's a sense of pride that goes into when you wear something that was made by your people, and you know it was made specifically for you. And as I always stress, we don't mind if everyone else wants to wear it, but we need to have something that we can put on and say, hey, I feel good in this. So that's the pride we put into our Black by the Man t-shirts. You can wear a t-shirt knowing that from the rooter to the tutor, it was made for you to make you feel good, and it represents group economics. So yeah, so I always thought that was a really good one because as a community of people, we got a little hustle in us. We know how to hustle. We can make things happen on a budget. We know how to share clothes. We all grow up under certain circumstances. So we just need to put some of them, some of those skills into action, for the business side of things. So yeah, number 6 was make and sell your own clothes.
And that's
Of
key.
course, I'm a fan of that.
Right. And I asked this, and I always think about this. I said, how many millionaires do we wear every single day? I'm gonna say it again for y'all. How many millionaires do
every
you all
day.
wear every day? And how many
Every
of those
day.
millionaires look like us or look like you?
Don't look like you, and they really don't want you wearing their clothing. Now, of course, they won't say this until they've gotten billions of dollars from you.
Absolutely.
Once they got the billions, then all of a sudden they get a little slick in the mouth.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think it's very important that we begin to make some of our own stuff. These options need to be available to us.
Absolutely.
And I know we've been under certain mindsets for 400 years, so I wouldn't tell anybody, hey, just leave the other stuff alone altogether. I know that's cold turkey, but the end game should be working towards that.
Absolutely. So that we're working towards, like us, and I've always said this, that we have that economic leverage across different industries. So it's not just,
Yes.
it's not just restaurants. It's not just in sports, music, or entertainment. It's not just in account, in the financial field. It's across the board where we own a significant portion of that excuse me, of that particular industry. Because when you got leverage like that, now you're talking a whole new ball game. It's a whole
Absolutely. Just off the top of my head, one of the areas that I think of is seafood. Black people, we consume a lot of seafood. We're like one of the number one consumers of seafood, but yet we have nothing to do with the importing and the catching of seafood.
Wow.
This should be an industry also that we should tap into. You know, anything that we dominate, anything that we're the number one consumer in, we should look into also becoming the producer,
So,
because unfortunately, there's no problem in consumption, no power in it. Power is only in production.
come on now. Yeah, absolutely. That is so true. That is so
You know,
true.
so we can't just be the consumer all the time,
Right.
producer.
And the thing is, we are the number one consumer, number one ethnic group of consumers. We outconsume any other ethnic group. But yet, when it comes to
Yes,
our economic salaries, when it comes to our salaries, we make the least amount of money. So how is it that we buy the most,
yes.
but we make the least?
Mm-hmm.
Where's that? What are we doing with
Yep.
our money?
And that's because we're not producing it.
Right.
Right. When there's no production involved, you economically you're going to be hurt, because all you're doing is kicking out money. You're
Right.
not producing anything to bring money back in.
In.
So if we produced as much as we consume, we'd be in a much better position. And unfortunately, a consumer has no power. The power is in the producer. And I'll even tie this into some of the social injustices that we suffer from.
Absolutely.
Sometimes the reasons we don't get justice that we want is because we don't have any economic power.
Come
You
on.
know,
Man.
so if you took a group, and I'll just use, say, like the Asians, right? They have economic power. They have Little China. They got the Chinese restaurants. They got the Asian beauty supply, which is really the black beauty supply.
Mm-hmm.
If an injustice is done to them, they can force the hand of the justice system and say, hey, listen, if you don't, you know, deal with the person who brought that, you know, harm to one of our people, we're going to cut you off here. We're going to cut you off there, you know, and it's going to turn into dollars. When dollars about to get cut, people go to jail.
And see,
you ain't got to worry about no trial.
Exactly. And that's what I guess where, to me, I think our mindset shift has to happen, is us recognizing the economic power that we have in our dollars and how powerful our dollars are. You said it at the beginning. We have $1 trillion of disposable income. $1 trillion.
Every year.
That's with a T, y'all. With a T.
That's with a capital T.
Right. A capital T. $1 trillion in disposable income that we as a community spend. And I don't know the numbers. You might not. Out of that trillion, what percentage do you think of that goes into our business?
My best guess is 0.
I don't even know. Right. I don't even know if we get to 1% of that $1 trillion.
Right. Yeah. I don't even think it's 1%.
Yeah.
We're strictly consumers. I think a big part of that is, again, going back to what I call a black education. This is what we try to do on the Black by the Man radio show. We need to educate ourselves. We can't just depend on formal education to help us get to where we need to get as a community, because there's been millions of us for years with formal education, but it may raise that particular person. It may raise their family, but the overall effect on us as a community of people still stays the same. You know, so recognizing that our power is not in what we tend to think it is, which is, we're more athletic, you know, we're faster, this, that, and the third, but we spend more. You know, we simply have to change it from consumption to maybe half of it being production. That way people can spend with us. And then we can begin to rebuild this Black Wall Street. But I love the fact that the spirit of it is picking up. You know, we are beginning to wake up. And, you know, I feel good to know that Black by the Man is a part of that awakening, as well as you too, brother. You know, with JNF Enterprises. You know, this is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And even to take it in a broader context from just our community, when you think of the United States as a country, and I was talking about this yesterday, we don't make anything. We don't produce anything anymore. The only thing I know that we, for sure, that we produce are cars. That's it. I don't think anything outside of cars, we don't produce anymore. So it's exactly what you were saying. If you aren't producing, you will eventually hurt yourself, because you have nothing nothing that's coming in and creating that economic, that economic flow that you need when it comes to finance,
Absolutely.
the money.
That lack of production has made us a permanent underclass
Yeah,
because unfortunately within this society, as a community of people, you only get respected if you produce something.
absolutely.
See, there's no repercussion
Right.
in the views of
Hmm.
other ethnicities or races if they do some harm to black people.
Yeah.
Because it's like, what are they going to do?
Right.
They don't produce anything.
Yeah.
They can threaten to boycott, but in the words of Baba Dick Gregory, black people have a short memory. So even the boycott's only going to last for but so long, and next thing you know, we Gucci down again. you
Exactly.
know?
And even and hopefully we'll get a chance to talk a little bit about when you're talking about the that aspect of it with everything that happened with Jay-Z, because I know y'all talked a little bit about that earlier today too, about him partnering with the NFL, and was that a
Right.
good decision? Was that a bad decision? Because he's getting a lot of flack with that. But let's jump to number 7 real quick.
All right, so number 7 was source black produced products. And what this basically means is if you can find low price products from black vendors, maybe you order some small statues that are made in Nigeria and you buy them off of Alibaba.com for $3. You're able to sell them for $10 in your store. It's a way of practicing group economics because they were made authentically by black people, and then you can resell it. So sourcing black produced products. With our T-shirts, we're in the process right now of trying to find a black-owned store where we can source some of the T-shirts to them. We'll sell them to them at wholesale price, then they get to sell them at retail price.
Right.
So it's kind of capitalism at its best. This is the
Absolutely.
beginning. It's the
Absolutely.
beginning. So yeah, Alibaba.com is a good website to check out for that. You can find some products on there that might be made from black people here in the States or even over in Africa and other countries that you can get at a good price. And, you might better sell it at the next upcoming event, set up a table as a vendor, come be a member at the BPM event. We can get you a vendor booth,
Absolutely.
right? Set you up to sell some of your goods. So yeah, source black produced products. Spread that love.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The number 8.
Number 8 is crowdfund to raise capital. Many of us have mistaken soliciting online donations for crowdfunding, but crowdfunding is the practice of funding a project or venture by raising small amounts of money from a large number of people. Now, the most familiar crowdfunding I think we're all familiar with is the GoFundMe on Facebook.
Right.
So that's an example of crowdfunding. It just happens to be used more in the midst of a crisis, right?
Okay.
But blackbythemand.com, we do crowdfunding through Patreon. Patreon is a website that allows you to set up crowdfunding where people can contribute a monthly dollar amount. Like we take as little as $1 up to $15 a month, and in exchange, we let you have access to the patron only feed. So we put certain things on the patron only feed that we don't put on other social media sites, and there may be more in-depth things that we go into on the show, like these 13 ways of practicing group economics are now officially on our Patreon page, and that's patreon.com/BrotherMikeBBD. So that's a form of crowdfunding where you're simply reaching out to your fans, to your audience, to the people who support you and saying, hey, do you mind, having $2 come off your debit card once a month to help us keep moving forward? So imagine if you had 500 people that were willing to do that. That would help you, move forward with your business. So yeah, I think crowdfunding is a great way to raise capital.
And here's one. I don't know if you're familiar with this at all, but his name is Jay Morrison, but he has a crowd fund called the Tulsa Real Estate Fund that's out there.
Yes, absolutely.
And they're doing some great things because he's all about the Black Wall Street rebuilding the Black Wall Street, and they're doing some phenomenal things. So you all can check that out too as part of a crowdfunding that you want to look into in order to be a part of it.
Absolutely, he's giving great education.
Yes, he really is. He really is. So I would definitely suggest that you check that one out. Okay.
Absolutely. That's Jay Morrison.
Yes, absolutely. All right. What's number 9?
I think we're on number 10.
Oh, really?
Maybe I missed one. Let me see.
Yeah,
I think we're on 10.
Okay, so crowdfunding was number 9?
Oh no, I'm sorry. You're right. I skipped. Crowdfunding was number 9. I skipped 8. Number
Okay.
8 was banking black.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
banking
we
black.
definitely don't want. We definitely don't want Mr. Money.
We don't want to skip that one. So yeah, if you bank black, it helps to support the community and it strengthens us as a people.
Right.
We are more competitive in this economy when we practice group economics like banking black. And just as a black person, I think we're all familiar with being denied. You know, when you go to get a loan or you know something, car loan, home loan, so forth and so on. I think certain loans we get more denied. Like you have an easier chance of getting a car loan versus getting a home loan or a loan for your business.
Mm.
So when you think about it, these are institutions that we put our money in each and every day. And if you know anything about banking, you know they're using that money to loan out to other people.
Right.
But 9 out of 10, you may not be one of the people they want to loan it to. You know, so we can avoid that by banking black. We practice group economics, and at least you will know if you didn't qualify for the loan, you know, you just didn't qualify. You know, like your merits weren't where they need to be, your ducks wasn't in a row, but you'll never have to question, you know, could this have been something else? You know, could they have said no to me for other reasons? So I think banking black is important and it strengthens our banks up. I always say if you look at, say, like the situation with Michigan with the dirty water, if more of us would have been banking black over the years, we might have had one of our institutions place where they could have bought a utility, right? So we should have been able to have a bank say, hey, listen, we own a water company 2 states over. We're going to pipe in clean water to Michigan.
Wow.
But those banks can never make it to that level if we don't bank with them.
Come
you know what
on,
I'm saying?
man.
We don't own any utilities. So when we reach that dirty water crisis, there was nothing we can do because all of our water is dependent on another group of people who evidently, at least in Michigan, they didn't have our best interests at heart.
Absolutely. And
that's how important banking black is.
And that's the power of group economics, like you just said, because if we have the
Yes.
if we're
We
practicing,
are stronger together. Our dollar is stronger together.
right. We don't have to worry about going to somebody else and saying, can you fix this? We can fix it ourselves.
Right. Fix it ourselves. And that's what group economics is, the core of it is, putting ourselves in a position where we can fix the things we need to fix.
Absolutely.
Like clean water.
Yeah. A simple thing is having clean water, man. All right. So number
clean water.
Yeah.
So we're on number 10 now.
And they Flint still
number
doesn't
9 was the crowdfunding.
Right.
Still doesn't have it, exactly. All right, so number 10 is build a barter system within your company. And of course, a barter system is when you have a system that doesn't deal with money. You know, I have a particular item or service I can offer to you. In exchange, you give me a particular item or service. I was surprised to see how effective this is. I actually used to watch a show on television where the whole show was about bartering. You know, so the guy would start off at the beginning of the show, say, hey, listen, I want to get a John Deere tractor by the end of this show. But right now, all I got is a cell phone. You know, so he takes the cell phone and he'll barter that off for something else and get that item and barter that off. And I was actually shocked to see that Craigslist actually has a barter section. And I never knew that until I watched that show. But that's how important bartering is. And that's what was going on in the beginning of capitalism. You know, you would trade off things. Right. So having a barter system within your community also is a way to practice group economics.
Absolutely. This is some good stuff here, y'all. I hope y'all taking notes because you want to talk about the blueprint for making our dollars matter, but making our community stronger. This is it right here. So nobody can any longer say what is our agenda. This right here gives you the start for what our agenda can be and should be. So what's number 11, brother?
Number 11 is changing your buying habits. You know, it can be inconvenient to track down black businesses that provide goods and services that you're looking for. But when you're practicing group economics, this means you might consider changing some of your buying habits to benefit your community. For instance, rather than using Google to find businesses that you want nearby, you can use the Black Directory. Rather than shopping in physical stores all the time, you can go online where you'll have a higher chance of finding black businesses that offer, maybe soaps or detergents, deodorant. It's quite a few that I use. I can find them on IG a lot. You'll see a lot of small black businesses saying, hey, we sell natural deodorant, we sell natural soaps, we have natural mouthwash, these are all black owned companies. But it just simply takes a little bit more effort to do this.
Yeah.
The convenience of everything being provided by dominant society has gotten us a little spoiled. So often we don't want to take time out to find that black business and say, hey, let me look online and see if I can find a business that can help me with what I want that might benefit my people as well. So changing some of your buying habits. And when you find, say, like that black business that sells toilet paper, go ahead and buy in bulk from them. Buy 2-3 dozen rolls of toilet paper. So that way, you have what you need for a while, and you know that you helped your community by supporting this small black business. And the big wigs don't have to always get your dollar, but it just requires a little effort. Yeah. But the effort that's required, the inconvenience from it, does not outweigh the benefit of buying from black businesses and helping to strengthen your community.
Because that's one of the things that my mother did say. We do have to make a concerted effort to support our businesses because they aren't readily available. But if you take the time to research or to find where they are, and you go ahead and do it, then you build them out to the point where they become convenient. They become
absolutely, brother.
they become readily available. So that's how that works. So people gotta understand. People gotta understand that like you said, it may be a small convenience in the beginning, but the more we support them, the bigger that the bigger that they're able to grow, and the more they're able to grow.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it'd be easier access for everybody else.
Absolutely.
Can't happen though until we give that support.
Absolutely. So what's number 12, bro?
Number 12 is to hire black. So once we begin to give support to these black businesses will begin to grow. Now we can start hiring our own people. In the words of Dr. Claude Anderson, he said it is a crime to send your child off to college and receive an education, then they got to come home and go into someone else's neighborhood and beg them for a job. And I love how he put that. It should be a crime. He should have options of getting hired from a black-owned business. I would love for Black by Demand as well as J&F Enterprises to reach a point where we can hire these young kids, where they can get out of school and we can say, listen, I can pay you that $90,000 a year starting off, and get you in a good position. But again, until we begin to practice more group economics, we won't be able to hire black. But when you do hire black, you are practicing group economics. And as a community of people, we can begin to relate to each other. Black man to black man, I can relate to circumstances you've been through. So I don't have to always go off the criteria. I can listen to your story. And in your story, I can relate to when I was in that position. And then I say, you know what, Leroy, I'm going to hire you, brother, because I know what you're going through, and I know the struggle it takes to get out of it, and I know that everybody else is going to try to look at things in your background that might make them say, I don't know, even though you're a completely different person now. So we get to relate to each other as well.
Absolutely, and that's vital. I mean, and Dr. Claude Alexander, he hit the nail right on the head. We should be able to hire our own whether it's coming directly out of college or even just putting ourselves in the position to be able to hire our folks, to be able to put us to work.
Absolutely.
That's power. And I always think about Irving Johnson. I'm not gonna call him Magic. I'm gonna call him Irving because he's the businessman now. He's not the Magic on the court.
Right.
He's Irving Johnson.
Right.
There's a difference between Irving and Magic. He's Irving now, and he has made He has made it a point to have his businesses in our communities, so we could do exactly what you were just saying: hire us to be able to employ in our communities, because that goes to making the community stronger, because we start to have more of a sense of pride about our communities. I don't know too many of us that are working hard every day, going, taking our hard-earned money and all of those things, and in within our community, and built it up, and are going to let certain things happen in our neighborhood. It's not going to happen, you know. And
Right.
what happens when, you know, when those of us in our communities are working in our community or for our community and all of those things, it makes a big difference.
Absolutely. It
Absolutely.
makes a difference.
Yeah, makes a big difference. So our last one is number 13. What's that?
Number 13 is to learn the fundamentals of economics, entrepreneurship, and finance.
Mm,
So, long story short on this, in order to understand money and what to do with it, you got to learn about money. Now, no matter what type of education you have, whether you quit high school, got a GED, whether you graduated high school or graduated from college, none of that education dealt with money. They're teaching you how to get the job, get the position,
yep,
and make the money. But they
yep,
don't teach you what to do with it once you get it. That you
absolutely.
have to learn on your own. So I think that is something that we need to stress more on the show. I try to go over certain books that I've read
Hmm.
that speak about the financial literacy, such as Rich Dad Poor Dad
Hmm.
or The Millionaire Next Door or Think and Grow Rich. But we have to start learning about money because in this society, my personal belief is it's not about how much you make; it's about how much you keep. So you may have
Amen.
someone that only makes 30,000 a year, and someone else that makes 300,000. But the person who makes 30,000 may keep 20% of their paycheck, and the person that makes 300,000 is spending, 110%. They're actually living above their means. So they may have bigger toys, bigger house, bigger car, but they also got bigger bills and bigger debt because
Yep.
though they make the money, they still don't know what to do with money. So financial literacy, economics, and then entrepreneurship. We can't have all of us going into life just wanting to have a job. Got to be a percentage of us that say, I want to be a business owner. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be able to hire Black people, to help strengthen our communities. Because if we all just get jobs, then we're never going to be in a position to be a stronger community because jobs are great, but we tend to just make it a better situation for us and our family. Versus as an entrepreneur, you have the opportunity to improve the lives of other people as well. So that's
Absolutely.
number 13.
And I call that what you were just talking about there. I call that having the mindset of the difference between the front of the check and your name on the front of the check and signing on the back of the check.
There you go.
The one who signs his name at the bottom or her name at the bottom right of that check is the one who's
Right.
the
That's
one
right.
the one who signs their name on the back of the check is anywhere from poor to rich.
Absolutely.
Wealthy
They
folk.
they actually say it's two positions when it comes to work, right? You can you can have a job and
Mhm.
help an entrepreneur pursue his dreams, or you can be an entrepreneur and help pursue your own dreams.
There it
So
is.
those are your choices.
And it's real. And
And we
it's
know
real.
that choice isn't for everybody, but we
Right.
need to have a higher percentage of us that wants to be entrepreneurs.
Right. And what that creates, like we talked a little bit earlier, is the leverage that creates, because the more of us that are entrepreneurs in the number of industries, the more leverage we have, the more economic power we have. And it's like you
Right.
said,
Absolutely.
when you think about other ethnic groups, and you made a great point, and I never thought of it from that perspective. I mean, I guess I did, but I didn't. But we get treated the way that we get treated because we don't use our economic power that we have, and
That's right. Yep.
they aren't going to recognize us and do for us until we until we
Mm-hmm.
use that economic power in the direction and way that we need to be using.
Absolutely. Like it's unfortunate, but within this society, you have to be able to force people's hands to get justice. So
Right.
I use the Asians as an example. If
Mhm.
they don't give justice to something that happened to an Asian, they can say, well, we're going to reach out to Hong Kong and cut off these import connections.
Absolutely.
We're going to shut down a little China. We're going to shut down, these other businesses. They got economic power. But because they have that economic power, they never even have to say that. If something happens, justice is given to prevent them from even considering that. So yeah, I think that is an area that we never consider when we don't get the justice that we deserve for our people being hurt, harmed, murdered, killed, or whatever. You're dealing with people that don't have economic power. So, the dominant society looks at you like, what you gonna do?
Right.
If we don't give you justice, what you gonna do? You're gonna get
Right.
mad, you're gonna picket, you're gonna protest. We can make it through that.
And speaking of
How they see it.
and speaking of that, and this is where I'll transition really quickly into what everybody's been talking about with Jay-Z, because with him partnering with the NFL. One of the statements I think that he made, or somebody said that he made, was that it's time we have to do more than take a knee. It's about after we take the knee. The taking the knee was to was to get the attention, was to protest. But what are we doing after? What are we doing after? Like you said,
True.
They'll sit and wait for us to, okay, they're going to protest, they're going to do whatever, but then they'll come right back. And like you said, they'll be Gucci down in a minute. They'll still go to our stores. They'll still buy our stuff. They'll still have on our jerseys, all of those things, because they don't have an economic plan. So people have to understand what Jay-Z was saying. And can you talk a little bit about the importance of the deal, with him making the deal that he made, and what, just kind of what your thoughts on it?
Yeah, my perspective is that Jay-Z's in the problem solving, and like you said, what Cap did is honorable, and we applaud him and we stood behind him. But at some point, you do have to move on to the next step. Right. So Jay-Z sees what he's doing as moving into the next step. Right. I personally believe that he's trying to penetrate the good old boys club, right? And it's unfortunate that people are seeing him. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's unfortunate that people are seeing him in a different light, because he's done so many good things within the Black community. I can only imagine how he feels that for the first time he did a move that everybody doesn't agree with, and now he's like a sellout, call him a sellout. Right. So I believe it's just strictly business. I believe it's, trying to penetrate the good old boys club. And I think in the long run, we have to wait to see what the end game is going to be. Right. Like I gave the example on the show that when Roosevelt first proposed Social Security, everybody was against it.
Absolutely.
But now look how we view Social Security today.
Absolutely.
You get what I mean? So 10 years from now, Jay-Z might have, an NFL team where everybody knows the team gets treated better. The salary caps are higher. They're not dealing with racism. See, then we're going to applaud him. But right now, when he's making that first move, everybody seems to have feelings about it. But what I find interesting is my experience has been a lot of the people with opinion are people that, number one, haven't done anything of the conscious movement for our community.
Yep.
And then number two, I take this stance that Jay-Z has proven that he knows how to make moves. He's a billionaire.
Yep.
So who am I, and who is the average, Black person who's not making that? How can we look at this man and say he's not doing this right, he's not doing that right? And I think that's one of the problems within our community. We have so many people that will stay quiet, but then soon as Leroy steps forward and says, I'm going to do this, then here we come saying, well, that ain't the way to do it. Right. That ain't the right way to do it.
Right.
But it's like, but you didn't have anything to say before I did this. So I just believe we should cheer each other on until we have proof that it was the wrong move. You don't have to like what Jay-Z did, but try to understand what exactly he's doing. You get what I mean? And we won't know until we see the result.
Yeah, and I've said this too. I said we won't know for the direct intent, but I'm saying as that those of us who are visionaries, those of us who are entrepreneurs and have a different mindset, and we don't think like everybody else. Now Jay is on that billionaire level now, and there's a different language up there.
Right.
It's a totally
different language.
It's a totally different language.
Totally
up there.
Different. Like how dare we question what he's doing? How dare we question what he's doing?
So
this man's a billionaire. He's proven. He went from the streets to the business.
Right, and he went from the block to the boardroom, and
absolutely.
and he's done, and here's my thing, and what folks are, he's done so much for the community. He has put he's put his money where his mouth is, when it comes to supporting the Black community. So I'm like, in and of that self, I said, you can't, folks that want to call him a sellout, like, y'all need to go somewhere. I said, because I don't see y'all putting up, like you were just saying, I don't see y'all putting up any kind of money. I don't see you putting up any kind of resources, but all of a sudden, the one that does have the resources and the money, y'all want to down him for doing that. I'm like, come on.
Right. Instead of just cheering him on.
Yeah, saying,
let's see what he does.
Saying, you know what, that's a good thing that he's doing. And folks saying, well, we start our own league and this, that, and the other. I'm like, do y'all know how much money it would take to start there? Not just to start the league, but to sustain it. The NFL has been around for years. It didn't just start yesterday. So and everybody in that club, like you just talked about, those 32 owners or however many more there are combined, those 32 teams that have, if you want to take one owner per team or whatever, every single one of them is a billionaire.
A billionaire.
A billionaire. With a B. Every single one of them is.
And here we all having opinions about how billionaires play with their money.
Right.
I'm not qualified.
And that's what I said. Here, this dude, Jay-Z, is sitting down with the likes of Warren Buffett, getting knowledge from him.
Right.
Come on now.
Yeah, see, I look at it like, imagine if it was a clock, right? What some of our community is thinking, we should just build our own clock. But we're not understanding that these people have been building clocks for years. And they got big clocks.
Right.
So Jay-Z, instead of building his own clock, I think he's sneaking into the back part of their clock. And then once he's in there, then he can start changing some of the cogs, right? And then make the clock tick a little bit better for us, because trying to build your own clock, I mean, sometimes people are too far out the gate and too far ahead of you because you still need to get the materials from them to build the clock.
Right.
So he's trying to get inside that clock and penetrate the good old boys club. That's something I'm just going to support because, this man has a proven record. I mean, it's interesting, right? If you think about Trump being president, a lot of people said, well, he'll make a good president because he's a businessman. That was some of their, lingo they used.
Right.
So why we don't see Jay-Z the same way?
Come on now. Because and here's a dude, and you compare the two, here's a dude that filed bankruptcy 7 times.
Right.
7 times.
And Jay-Z never did that.
And you wouldn't even question him, but all of a sudden, this man makes one move, and you like all of a sudden, oh no, he's not this and he's like that. Yeah, so
and even more interesting is they keep calling him Uncle Tom, right?
Right.
And ironically enough, in the book, Uncle Tom's Cabin, Uncle Tom was the good guy. It was Sambo who was the bad guy. So even when they call him Uncle Tom, I'm like, see, you don't even have the proper lingo to talk about this man. You even got that part wrong. It was Sambo. It was not Uncle Tom.
Absolutely. Bruh, this has been a pleasure. I want you to share your contact information again, just in case that folks want to support the Black by Demand brand. They want to buy the t-shirts, but then also I know you do speaking too. So if folks want you to come and be able to talk about your plan that you have and putting that into action and everything, how can they connect with you?
They can connect with me. As far as the apparel, you can go to blackbydemand.com. Remember, buy is spelled B-U-Y. That's where we sell our apparel. If you want to participate in our crowdfunding, you can do that at patreon.com/BrotherMikeBBD. That is our crowdfunding page, and you can contribute as little as $1 a month. And you can reach me personally at our email, which is blackbydemand4u@gmail.com. So that's blackbydemand, the number 4, and then the letter U @gmail. We take requests for show topics. You can reach us as far as if you want to become a sponsor of the show. Anything you need, you can reach out to us. So that's blackbydemand.com, patreon.com/BrotherMikeBBD, and blackbydemand4u@gmail.com.
Cool. Now tell them about the show and when the show airs, when they can listen or watch it, when they can watch the show and listen to the
You
show.
can you can catch the show every Monday live from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube at Be Exposed Radio, or you can catch the pre-recorded anytime on Facebook and YouTube at the Black by the Man Radio Show.
I think your computer froze up on you on Mike. Hopefully you'll come back any second now. But that's Black by the Man. That's Michael Harrison. You can check him out on Facebook. The Black by the Man, blackbytheman.com. That's his website where you can go and you can actually